Welcome to the November 2024 meeting of the Fall River Redevelopment Authority. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recording or transmission are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. John Erickson, present.
Yeah, Ann Keen here.
Also attending on the phone over here to my left is Ron Rusin.
That only the camera microphone's on, so
You
we're
may
not
want to
sure if
switch
there's
with
gonna,
Sarah.
Oh,
Switch with
that
Sarah,
one's not working.
Right,
oh,
so that way we closer to the screen.
oh, okay, these
yeah.
are.
And then Ron can hear you better.
So you want to sit here?
Oh,
I'll sit
Yeah,
there.
because you're gonna have to talk probably more than I.
Ron, can you still hear us?
uh-oh.
Yeah, I can still hear you, yes.
Oh, okay, good. All right, back to where we were.
That's John here.
In attendance tonight is myself, John Erickson,
Ann Keen.
Ann Keen, Ron Rusin remotely on this phone right here, and Sarah Page, Executive Director, John Coughlin, Legal Counsel, Ken Farrell, Administrative Consulting, and Karen Martin, Project Manager. First item is approval of our open session. He's doing something. From October 23rd, 24th, if there's any comments on the minutes, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second? Second, John Erickson, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
Ron
Ron Rusin, yes.
Rusin, yes, thank you. Financial report, you folks have the warrant, which,
I have one comment on the warrant. I made a little boo-boo, I made a mistake. There should have been, if you look at the warrant, there's a blank number under P&G irrigation. It should have been another invoice for $443.50. And so what I want to do is, I cut the check and it's in with the checks to be signed, and then I'll add it on to the December warrant. So we will show record of it being voted on and approved tonight, and then again in the warrant. We'll see it in the totals in December.
so it's not the 425, is that what?
So it's not 101,913.86. The total with the check for 443.50 is 102,357.36. But the total, you can vote on the total of 101,913.86, and then that invoice will show on the December warrant. But I'm going to have you sign it tonight.
Yeah, gotcha, okay. And Joan has reviewed this.
Yes, she's reviewed it and approved it.
If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this warrant for a total of, well, $101,913.86, plus the minor change that Karen's referencing.
Motion approved warrant for October for $101,913.86. And in November, we'll do the other $456 she was talking about.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Ann Keen, yes.
Okay. One vote.
Oh, did Ron vote?
Did Ron vote?
I think,
Ron Rusin, yes.
yes. Thank you, Ron. Next item is fiscal year 2023 audit update, which Karen's going to speak to.
Yeah, this is just a brief update on the audit. We still have the outstanding issue as to how we are going to view 2501 South Main Street property in the audit. We're still waiting to get with Joan. Joan was doing some traveling, so we're hoping to get that resolved in the next couple of days. So once we get that resolved, we should be able to finalize the audit, and hopefully I'll be able to say at the next meeting it's done. So that should hopefully resolve that, and then we'll get it off to the city.
Okay. Next item in the board package was a letter of support regarding the Board and Light Marine expansion. Ken's going to speak briefly to that.
Thank you. So in your board package, you have a draft letter that's being recommended to be signed by John Erickson as the chair of the Redevelopment Authority as it pertains to a variance request that's going to the state so as to allow for the development of a marina at 52 Ferry Street. 52 Ferry Street is the location currently where you have the Pier 52 restaurant. You also have boat storage that occurs there for a 12-month period, but primarily the majority of the boat storage is from October through the end of May. You also have some non-water dependent uses there in the form of the brewery, which is a wholesale and retail facility, as well as a distribution facility there for a private company. The variance request that will be submitted to the state request a variance so as to allow the construction of a 90-plus slip marina. It also allows for the construction of public fishing pier. It also allows for the construction of an overlook, enhanced public accessibility to the site via improved sidewalks throughout the area, as well as specific Chapter 91 water-dependent uses in the form of transient dockage, commercial boat utilization, the location for the water taxi will be there, as well as a proposed dinner boat will be operating out there. Because the land is in a designated port area as determined by state law, technically the only activity and allowable uses that are supposed to take place there are industrial related marine dependent uses. Obviously the uses that are being proposed there, while they are marine or water related, they're not industrial related, and that's why we're seeking a variance for this particular location. The site itself is just about 3.2 acres, and the overall designated port acreage throughout the Mount Hope Bay is approximately 925 acres, I believe. So this represents a de minimis portion of the DPA, and utilization of the site for the proposed uses will have no negative impact upon the uses that take place at the abutting boarding Remington facility nor the state pier, which are within the DPA as well. So we're hoping that the Redevelopment Authority will support this letter so that it can be included as part of a variance request being submitted by 52 LL Street to the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You good, Ann? Okay. Thanks, Ken. So after hearing that, I'll entertain a motion to have the chair to sign this support letter for 52 Ferry LLC. Ron?
Entertain a motion
Hand motion.
for the chair to sign
I'm
the
sorry, I
letter.
was on mute. Motion to approve to have the president sign the letter for 52L.
Ferry, 52 Ferry.
52 Ferry LLC.
50 Ferry, yeah.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
Ron?
Rusin, yes.
Thank you. Okay, next item, folks, is 191 Commerce Drive. Sarah's going to speak to that.
Yes, so we wrote a letter to the EOHLC, Executive Office of Housing and Community, Livable Communities, and we asked that they waive the requirement that the property be sold at exactly the appraised value, and we explained the reasons. And I got a call from Maggie at EOHLC and explained the fact that Wetlands are in the middle of the site, making it very difficult to be developed, and that it had been on the market for years, and she totally understood that, and we received this letter approving the sale. And so now we want to have a vote to close on this piece of property, which will be a good success for us and the buyer and the Commerce Park.
Okay. So, Ron, hopefully you can hear me okay. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the chair to execute the deed and all associated closing documents for the sale of 191 Commerce Drive, Fall River, Mass. to Four Cousins Bakery, in accordance with the terms and conditions of a land disposition agreement between the parties dated September 3rd, 2024. And Ron, I'm going to ask Ann to motion that, because it's a lot for you to remember.
Perfect. I was gonna say so moved.
Entertain a motion to authorize the chair to execute the deed and all associated closing documents for the sale of 191
I
Commerce
second.
Drive, Fall River to Four Cousins Baking LLC in accordance with the terms and conditions of a land disposition agreement between the parties dated September 3rd, 2024.
Ron?
Second.
Thank you. John Erickson, yes?
Ann Keane, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is Norton City Pier. Karen's going to speak to that.
So City Pier is pretty much put to sleep for the winter. We turned off the water shortly after our last meeting. The sprinkler subcontractor was out there, he blew out the lines, and he has taken out the backflow preventer, and so that is all closed up. Tim DeSilva and his crew are out there this week, and they cut back all the grasses and the perennials. He thinks he'll probably have one more trip to blow the leaves off, probably closer to early December, but other than that, it's pretty much closed up for the winter. Still a lot of people out there walking, but it's all set. The only other thing that we have to talk about as we are approaching winter is the snow removal and de-icing. Tim has a contract with us that we could option another year, actually 2 more years. So he is holding his price the same as last year, so we've decided to option that second year at the same price, and I've included an amendment in the board package that shows that, extension to his contract.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys have this, I just need a motion to approve the amendment to DeSilva for snow removal for this season.
Did you say it was the same price, Karen?
Yes,
Yes.
it is the same price, Ron.
Okay, perfect. Okay, motion to move the same snow remover for this year.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Ann Keane, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Thank you. Environmental closeout for Norton Pier.
That is, so the final edits have gone to Joe McLaughlin at Beta, and he is hoping to have the final permanent solution submitted hopefully by Thanksgiving to Mass DEP.
Cathodic?
Cathodic protection, we, since our last meeting, they have done the field, they've finalized the topo study, and they've got all the results back, and I've submitted those to the cathodic protection subcontractor. They also did all the site inspection work. They had the diver in the water, and then they stationed off everything up top and took all their notes and observations. The rough findings were sent to the cathodic protection subcontractor, and we had an update meeting this afternoon, and the formal, more, pretty results will be sent to him by the end of this week. We are still on schedule to get the first pass at the cathodic protection design system by the end of December, and they were having their first meeting this afternoon to start with the permitting, which is basically Concom and Army Corps of Engineer notices. So everything looks like it's on track there. So I will keep you posted.
Thank you. Northfield Point?
Northfield Point, so sadly, Ron, you might miss the visuals on this, but I just wanted to bring some visuals to go over with everybody as to where we kind of are with the design work and what our next steps are. Just want to make sure that you guys are in agreement with what we're laying out and how we're hoping to proceed. So basically, it's going to be a little hard to see and a little cramped to see, but basically, we have the point, which consists of this work right here. The dark edges are where revetment work will be taking place, and that will be building up on the shores. And I'm just going to pass this out to everybody just so that you have an idea of what the shores look like and what the plan is. So, revetment work is going to consist of new armor stone, generally around the property, but in varying degrees of size and depth. And it will end up looking very similar to what's in this picture on Point Gloria's side. We're going to reuse as much of this stone as we can. And with the larger stone requirements being further out on the spit, and the small spit, that's a reference that Johnny uses. And then the smaller stone would be in, like where we have this salt marsh area here, and as you're in a more protected area, it is a much smaller space and the smaller size stone will be able to be used. We had originally been talking about doing this work off of like a barge or some type of a large boat, but in looking over the work, the subcontractor in Beta feel that we can really get our best bang for the buck actually doing all the work from land. So that will probably work in our favor, hopefully. And this is all going to be considered maintenance work. So that's how our permitting approach is going to be. And then also what we've done here is we've designed the walkway. This here is the existing city boardwalk. And we're coming off at one point going out to the end of the spit where we have a wider area to gather, sit, look around. The two pine trees at the end of the spit we are going to retain as they have meaning to the Point Gloria people. They were planted by some special people at Point Gloria, so they've asked we keep these okay. And then the walkway then will come in to the triangle area right here as you get closer to our docks. Beta wants, they would love to see in the future for us to do a mirror image of this walk onto the other side of the boardwalk. We have no commitment to do that work. Our goal here is to get people as close to the water and enjoy the views as possible. So I had him actually sketch out a different path where you actually do reach and get to that point a lot closer. I personally like this approach better than the other one because it doesn't really utilize all the space that's available here. But we can talk about that. And then the idea is that between all the work with the revetment, all of the work to remove the invasives that are here, we will need to be doing some more plantings, and this is an idea of what they were talking about, doing some plantings with some deciduous trees and proposed evergreen. One of the things that we are going to be doing in the near future is meeting with Mass Audubon and also the Groundwork South Coast to have their input and their review of what plantings and containment of invasives also. So we'll be reviewing that with them. This is just kind of a schematic of what is there now at the bottom and what it might look like when it's done, just to give you kind of a, an idea of what the beautiful walk that it's going to be. It does show that we're using granite blocks for some benches out here, solar lighting out on the point as opposed to having to bring electrical down. We do show over here in this triangle area along the walkway here that we're adding a couple of pole lights. We haven't decided whether they're going to be matching the city existing ones or be more like City Pier with the downlights. That's still to be determined, I think. And then that's kind of the general consensus. Does anyone have any questions about the general work so far on the point?
So the only variation is on the bottom, you're talking about extending it out to that elbow a little bit?
Yeah, so see how in this right here, it just kind of goes out more and gets you more to the point?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
mean, I don't necessarily think it has to have all the curves in it, but, you know. They gotta do their job. And then the other part of the project is the mooring fields and the dinghy dock. So these drawings are gonna be a little hard to see because they're dark, but I can kind of walk you through them. So there's 3 mooring fields we had talked about utilizing. This is the mooring field number 1, which is between the Cove Restaurant and the City Pier proper. And there's roughly 3, 6, 10 moorings that can fit in this area, and they'll accommodate boats of like 30 feet and more. So it's a bigger field here. This mooring area 2, which is between the City Pier and North Field, we have 4 boats, 4 mooring points right here. There is a third. Oh, just for information purposes too, what limits how many you can get in is obviously you have to have a swing on your boat. And then this line right here represents the deep channel that you can't really impede. You can't put a mooring field in. That's against the rules. And then the third mooring area is over by the existing boat ramp. It's over by where Barrett's is, Commonwealth Landing. And we've shown here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with 3 larger moorings and 3 smaller moorings. The largest boat that you're going to typically get on a mooring is roughly 50 foot in length, just because anything bigger than that is you're not going to be able to accommodate on a mooring. You need a slip for that. And then the proposed location for the dinghy dock. They've shown it coming off in like an L, a 90-degree from the existing, the existing docks, and they show it coming off at like a 90-degree angle. And it's currently showing now 3 small mooring piles that would need to be put in, and there's a little 4x16 ramp to get from the existing dock to the new dinghy dock.
So it's kind of right at the end of the...
Yeah, and this would accommodate, in theory, those 3 mooring fields.
So I just got a question, is there no moorings in between the transient dockage and Northfield Point?
There's 4.
But that's all they think I can fit.
Inside, I didn't see that.
There's 4 right here.
Okay,
1, 2, 3, 4.
okay.
Okay. And so our plan now is, unless it's to continue in this vein, unless there was any big concerns with how we've got it laid out. We've started to get budget numbers from Beta to actually get the work done. And now Sarah and I are going to need to sit down and review our grant options. We do think the Seaport grant is going to open up early in 2025, so we can apply for some money there. We're also going to be reaching out to Coastal Zone Management to see about what they might be able to, we might qualify with them. They have up to $2 million potentially on a coastal resiliency grant, so we will see if they think this would be a viable project for that. And then there's a couple of smaller grants. So we're just going to kind of have to see where the money comes from. The other thing that will be interesting is that we don't want to miss a planting season either. So we won't find out about some of this grant money until later in the summer. So we may end up missing the planting season of 2025. It may go into 2026 to do any type of planting and soil work like that. So we have to kind of gauge some of that as we press on. So that's where we're at.
And the walkway is going to be stone dust, or what's the?
Yeah, it's going to be, they call it an aggregate, so
Okay.
it'll be, yeah.
Okay. It looks great. The only thing I'd say is we probably want to get you may have to phase this, depending.
That's what we're figuring
Because I
out.
have to think that riprap is gonna be
Well, they've priced the riprap at roughly $250,000.
for the whole perimeter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
way
That's
less,
less than I thought.
it's way less than what I
If
thought.
that's the case, then that's good.
Yeah. The,
Yeah.
the actual, site improvement work and the invasive management is like 1.3 to 1.5 million, which,
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's up there.
yeah, but I mean, you can kind of see it too, because doing some of the revetment work, the true revetment work, they're counting in the stone, but as you're kind of destroying the top, you're also helping with site improvement work, because you're not just scraping everything back, because they're already kind of running all over it and everything. You gotta put in some temporary roadways, so there's a bunch of things that you gotta kind of consider, preferably that we're starting to talk through now, but I mean, that's the general gist. And as long as we can get some money from a couple of different funding sources, I think we'll be able to at least get this started in 2025, and we'll see where we go for completion,
So is that
potentially
one-
in 2026.
Does that 1.2 also contain that new walkway?
Yes,
Okay.
not the dotted line one, the one, it contains, it's everything west of the existing boardwalk.
Right.
Yes.
So that walkway right there.
This here?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes,
So that could be potentially phased if you had to do that.
yes.
Right, because you have a walkway that goes there and it connects.
Yeah,
to
so
the
we could do,
peninsula.
so depending, so so we might be able to get revetment walkway,
Right.
you know, get the skeleton of the
Yeah.
whole project done, and then do all the plantings in the spring or something
Right.
like that. So we're just gonna kind of have to see how we can, to shake that all out too.
Yeah, the other thing is, I don't know, did you say you had lights?
So they're planning right now for solar along
Yeah.
along the spit. And then in here, there's, there's existing.
Existing lights?
Yeah, and the plan is to pull them back potentially along here and maybe, or plus or minus add one or two somewhere too.
Okay, that's only if you do that walkway at this point.
Yes.
Because
And,
the other thing to keep in mind is all those lights along Duval Street that are existing, those are all gonna be changed.
they're gonna look the same, but they're all new, yes. But we can reuse some of those existing ones.
That's what I'm saying, you could
Yes.
probably use some of those existing lights for over
We
here.
do already have a high hosey on that. They
Okay.
already know that we're looking to
Yeah.
potentially reuse them.
Is a high hosey mean that?
Yeah.
What's I don't know, a high hosey?
High
don't know what
hosey
a-
that.
I don't know what a high hosey is, but.
We put a claim in for
Okay,
it,
all right,
yes.
good. Haven't heard that term before, but okay.
So I've let DCM know that
Yeah.
we may need a couple of them.
Okay, yeah, looks great. I
Yeah.
think opening up that area will be, the last piece of
Yep.
that waterfront
Yeah.
development and make it that much more enjoyable for the public.
So Karen, why can we not use solar lights along the elbow area the way we're using them out to the point?
We could potentially, and that is a question that
Yeah.
we can ask, but I think the thought is to kind of keep it like. Because the problem is that if you have those big lights there, they'll drown out the solar lights. You know what I mean? Like, so if you have if that big light is on, it's almost like sunlight on a solar light, so the solar light may not go on.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that
You want
makes
the spec?
sense.
Karen?
What? Oh, yeah, so that's a concern. So you'd have to really worry about placement and everything more so.
And Beta folks thought that we should use the same lights that we used on CD Pier so it's all consistent.
But they,
And-
yeah, but they're gonna look different than what's along, that
Yeah.
would be remaining on the boardwalk,
Right.
so
It's,
where do you clean that, I
Toss-up.
don't know. I mean, we have downlights at
If
night.
you got free lights, it's probably better than.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that if we can get
but the free lights are more expensive to maintain to change the light bulbs, correct?
if we have to, yes, I think they're LED, I have not confirmed that. LED, I don't have to change
The
too
LED,
often.
yeah, so you can put LED into them.
I would think you could,
Yeah.
so I don't have all those
But
details.
you were told by the facilities,
They were more concerned about the globes getting broken and
oh,
stuff.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was more the globes getting broken.
which has happened along the waterfront, so that could happen.
That could happen to any lake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, so we,
My-
You know, the only other thing is moving forward, somewhere in that plan, you may want to extend your camera range.
that is on my list of
Yeah.
things that we want to add, cameras, trash cans, you know, doggy waste disposal
Yeah.
stations. But yeah, and we can do the solar cameras over there
Right.
too, like we're doing on the dock.
Exactly.
And our current system is expandable to that, so we could add on.
Because that'll also give you,
I think that helps tremendously, and you put out a sign saying, you know,
Yeah, that's-
site is under,
you know, it's clear,
camera
'cause I
surveillance.
check it all the time, it's very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and we could also get camera coverage, a little bit more of that water body between the two, between the,
yes, yep.
the southern, the northern side of the city pier and the spit itself, so.
Yep. So the next steps are gonna be, we're gonna try to meet with coastal zone management to see if they think this is a project that would meet their guidelines for a grant. We're gonna try to get a meeting with Mass Audubon and Groundwork South Coast to talk more about the invasives and plantings, and continue forward with the design. And then we're almost to the point where we can start permitting. Laura from Beta is probably gonna talk to Dan about the Concom permit, and we can start moving forward.
Just one last, so the dock, the transient boat dock, is that gonna be the same material as the transient dock?
The dinghy dock you're
I
talking
mean,
about?
the dinghy dock, I'm
The
sorry.
dinghy, the plan is to keep it like that, yes.
But
I
but the
think,
challenge is, well, one challenge is if we get the grant, the
yeah.
federal grant, then we have to buy American products, and we may not be able to use the
Canadians.
Canadian company that did the docks that we have now.
You can make it, you can make, if there's a reason that you feel you can't do that, you can ask
But
for a.
we should be able to, even
Yeah.
if it's similar, you know, as long as it's similar in
Yeah.
texture and
Yeah.
style and guarantee and warranty, I think we're
Yeah.
okay.
But you're saying we could
You
get a
can,
waiver?
if it's a hardship, or if you feel like there's like an issue with either a delivery issue, or say, I don't know, like anything else, you can always say that, you know, to go with this, you know, we can't meet that requirement, but we can go with this because it's better for
That's not
X
more
amount
than-
of water,
That's
yeah.
not more than what, 24 feet maybe? Is that how long
To be honest, I can't remember how long it is, you remember?
No, I don't.
I can't remember, it's 3 piles, so it's probably
it
like,
is? 8, 16, 24?
so I think there's like, maybe, it might be at tops,
Yeah.
40 feet, you
Or
know what I
that
mean?
long.
Well, and I'm just saying I was thinking the distance between the pilings, but that would be like a max, it might, probably not that long.
So that's like right at the bottom of the gangway, it goes out 90 degrees? You had a picture of it.
Yeah, it's right here. So this is the existing transient docks.
Yep.
Here's the harbor master's boat drawn in for
Oh, okay.
effect. And this is the proposed new dinghy dock. So you'd come down the gangway, and then hard right, and then you'd go right out there. Or you'd tie up your dinghy and then come up and out.
So we're not looking, so this is part of the Northfield Plain project?
It was all part of the same
It's all part
design.
of the design.
Yeah. We did apply for that federal Big One grant for the moorings and the
Right.
dinghy dock.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
separate. So
That's
it's potentially separate funding source.
yeah, separate funding source. Whether we let that work go separate or do it all as a package is yet to be
That
determined.
probably depends on funding availability. If it comes in now,
We won't know that until June.
okay, but even in
Yeah.
June, right? Because I don't know when we're gonna be, you know, what the cycle of the seaport is and how much money. You're trying to get a $1 million grant from the seaport, so we got a match. That's what,
Yeah.
25-30% there?
It's 20.
25, I think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, you know, so you're looking at least 250,000, if not a little bit more. And that includes the dock, or that doesn't include?
And we have to match the federal money
Right.
too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So then whatever that cycle is, and then we gotta get, So Northfield Point, as it stands now, doesn't appear that we're gonna need any permits other than Conservation Commission
Right.
permits. So that's good, right? So that
Yep.
saves a lot.
And we do need, I think we need to put a notice in with the Army Corps.
With the Army Corps,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's just a notice
Yeah.
for maintenance, right? And then on the other one, for the transient dockage, the question is, and I'm not sure, I know that there's probably a reason, I'm not sure why it can't be anchor supported as opposed to pile supported. Because if you do pile supports, that means it's gonna kick you into, I believe, the Chapter 91
Right.
permitting.
But that's part of the engineering bid that we have.
I
So it's
understand.
not going to add to the expense.
It'll add to the expense of the piles themselves. If you went anchor supported dock, you don't need to go through Chapter 91, nor pay for the pilings themselves and the driving of the piles.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, so it's just a question of,
You could make the argument too that you could use some of the other piles that were approved for the rest of the
I'm
year.
not sure, that's a
It's gonna be,
fuzzy
yeah.
argument, because
It
we looked
is.
at that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we can.
Yeah, so I think, just keep it, I think it's another option just to
Yeah,
keep on the
it
table,
is.
maybe piles, because if you look at other marinas, especially for a short run,
Yeah.
you can pile support them.
The other thing
Do you
that's,
have
I mean,
to pull them
anchor.
out for the winter and for
No.
storms?
No.
Okay.
no,
And
that's very protected.
And that's a very protected area
Yeah.
there, if it was elsewhere, maybe, but here it's so protected, that's probably one of the best, one of the best, if not the best locations along the entire river. in
And you're
terms
right
of-
along the shore.
Yeah.
Right, you're right along the shore and you got natural breakwaters right there, right?
Yeah.
You have both the north and south breakwater there, so the fetches are not gonna be bad.
The other thing too is if we do think that this is gonna be a strong project to match with the coastal zone management grant program, they can give you up to 2 million with only a 10% match.
Okay.
So that's, that could be hugely helpful. So we'll keep you posted.
The only disappointment I have is that by bringing all the machinery out to do all the revetment work from land, they're thinking that most of the existing soil and vegetation will be disturbed and will be pulling out a lot of the existing soil or scraping it back.
No, we won't, well,
Well, we'd be they said they would
so
scrape.
doing the revetment work, you wouldn't be scraping it
No,
back.
but
what you'd be doing is helping with invasive removals. You'd be like riding over the top of everything. Because and part of getting rid of all that thick thatch and invasive that's out there, there will have to be a certain amount of scraping back in areas, especially we're gonna do plantings and the walkway and everything else, so,
Yeah, and I think, you could also take a look at how much planting you actually want to do out there,
right.
right? It
right,
seems
you
like,
gotta cover all the
right, but I'm just
soil.
saying, yeah, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's a lot of planting, so yeah,
Oh.
that's like the Rolls Royce. of
Yeah, they're
plantings.
focusing like the big plantings, like on the planting schedule here, more so down in this area here.
Right,
Yeah.
which is.
With some
outside
shade
the-
trees where people
Yeah.
will probably be sitting and things like that. They don't really have any big plantings out on the spit itself.
Right.
It's more just, this is a, what they call a restoration mix for dry sites. It's like meadow grasses and
Yeah,
stuff.
right, which should
So,
not- shouldn't be
yeah.
too expensive.
And there'll be some probably, a few perennial, like, like black-eyed Susans, like that seem to be thriving over at City Pier out there too, that seem to like do well and spread and stuff, so.
And no irrigation.
No irrigation.
No, that's fine.
The only that we did, I will say that I did have a long conversation with Bill about that today. One of the things we may want to do, because we do need to get water out there to establish everything, we may want to consider just running a line down and putting like a yard hydrant in, so you could attach hoses to it initially, and that does give a water source further down. We talked about it.
Yeah, it's usually the responsibility of the contractor to guarantee their plants for a year anyway.
Right, but then you gotta think that they're gonna be having to bring in trucks, and if you put it as part of the contract, that's all prevailing wage work.
I don't know about that. Good enough, it's considered a maintenance issue.
That's the problem, is we'd have to figure out if we can actually do that within the scope of the project.
Yeah.
Anything else on Northfield?
That's all I got. Did anyone have any big concerns with that? Everyone's happy with the direction we're going in? Okay.
That's good.
Okay, little change in the lineup. Ron is now with us in the flesh. Hi, Ron.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
No problem. Well, you were here.
I was thinking it was next week. I don't know why I thought that.
That's it.
Well, it usually would be,
Yeah.
but we moved it.
Sarah's going to talk about the IRP at Flint and Pleasant Street.
Before we do that, is it possible from a parliamentary standpoint, I know we already took the vote on the 52 Ferry Street, but there was one important component I left out that I'd like to make sure that goes on the record.
Sure.
Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So part of the issuance of the variance needs to, you gotta justify that the variance request also conforms to a comprehensive plan. And in your letter, you see that there's great reference there to the waterfront urban renewal plan. And the fact that was when we did the water urban renewal plan, we started in 2016, it's completed in 18. We extended the boundaries down to include that area of Ferry Street, for some of those of you that were there at the time. So it is contained within that urban renewal plan. And so this area was part of that comprehensive planning initiative. And that urban renewal plan was not only approved locally by the Redevelopment Authority, but it was also approved after public hearings of the Redevelopment Authority. It was approved, and also by the state itself. So the juxtaposition of that area is within that comprehensive plan and gives greater credibility to the fact that it conforms with one of the criteria of a variance, that it comports to a comprehensive planning initiative for both local as well as regional and state. So I just wanted to get on record with that. Thank you.
We don't have that in the motion, do we?
I don't think so, no, it's just.
The motion was just to sign the
No.
letter, and that's all in the letters.
Yeah, it's all in the letters, but the public's doesn't have the letter, so I just want to make sure that they understand it.
Okay, so Pleasant Street. So the ongoing saga that you've been hearing about is figuring out how to respond to MIPA's response to our filings with MIPA. And so we have a phone call tomorrow with Tyan Bond and Emily Innes to talk about kind of the approach that I described at the last meeting, where we would remove the neighborhood revitalization blueprint document, and that removes a number of things that MIPA was questioning and wanting information on. And the idea that we remove some of the city projects that are mentioned, so that we don't have to be working with the city to respond to those issues. And so we're not sure that's what we're going to do. I think we are sure that we'll want to remove the neighborhood blueprint, but we're going to talk about what our best strategy is, what it might cost. Since the last meeting, Emily and I each independently have talked with Paul McMorrow at Mass Housing, who is in charge of the HUB grant that is funding some of our work in the Flint, and the planning work specifically. And he was very surprised by the MIPA response. And so I'll be talking with him about whether they're willing to use more of their funds toward this additional work that Tyan Bond and Emily will need to do, or whether he wants to help us with this response to MIPA that says these are, expensive requests. So we'll be working on that. We'll let you know kind of what we figured out at the December meeting. If we come up with a good strategy, I'd like to have people start working on that. I think that there's still funding that we have in the Tyan Bond contract, but I might use the the provision that the board has voted on that I could contract with a consultant up to $10,000 as long as I check it with the chair and the treasurer. If we think that we've got a really good solution and we can start that work. But I have no clarity on that yet. So so that's the MIPA update. And then the other kind of piece of news is that I may have told you that the city was granted a Love Your Block grant through the, and Love Your Block is funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies. And it funds the city being able to hire a fellow to work in the Flint neighborhood and also hire a VISTA member, which is very hard to find. And they would together work on the program Love Your Block has, which is to raise a lot of volunteers from a neighborhood and have them do projects in the neighborhood, like cleanups and plantings, and sometimes they help people who are having trouble work on their porch. They could help residents who are needing some help on their property. So the grant assumed that you would hire this fellow around April. And the city has worked on trying to find a fellow, and the fellow has to speak Spanish. And there's some room to move there. They could speak Portuguese and not Spanish, but they have to be bilingual. So, and the Love Your Block program has to approve them. And so the mayor and Mike Dion thought they had a candidate, and the Love Your Block program said she didn't qualify, and they didn't allow them to hire that person. So I have for a while said that I would help them get ads up on college websites and onto Indeed and onto Idealist, and help with the recruitment. And so they kept saying, oh, we think we have somebody, but now they're just really frustrated and said that they would appreciate help getting it advertised. So that's what we're going to be working on a bit over the next month, trying to find someone, because the work in the Flint will make much more progress on implementing our blueprint if we have people on the ground there engaging residents and working together. Yeah.
What's a fellow and a vista? I don't understand the difference between those two.
So a fellow is just what the Love Your Block program is calling it. It's comparable to the Transformative Development Initiative Mass Developments program that we've had. We've had a fellow working in the downtown, and now we have a new fellow. And it's just kind of a term that grant sources sometimes use because it implies they're short term. So the fellow for the Flint would be a 2-year position. It's not an employee of the city. It's this hybrid type of role. And so that's why it's called a fellow. Now, a VISTA is a federal program that allows you to basically give a living allowance to someone. So they make very little money, and they would have to live in our area, and their role would would be to be out in the Flint finding people who want to do these projects and helping the fellow make these things happen. Now I had Vistas in Springfield do work with us. Usually you recruit them when the semester has ended, and you're looking typically for people who've just graduated from college. the ones that I had that were really successful were trying to figure out if they wanted to go to a graduate program, what they wanted to do next, and they wanted to kind of test out what it was like to work in the neighborhood. And one of them, loved it and went on and became a city planner. And so that's ideally the kind of person you're looking for, is someone who's willing to invest a year, make barely enough money to survive, and yet they're getting experience and they're being able to serve a neighborhood, and that's what you're looking for. So whether we're able to find a Vista, someone who's willing to do that is a question. And similarly, the city has thought they had found people, and the people ended up not taking it. So, so what I'm really focused on is finding the fellow. And, you're looking for someone who has a BA, who's a bilingual, who's willing to really be out in the neighborhood, finding people wanting to work on projects.
Why wasn't she qualified? They tell you why?
Yeah, I think the person I think maybe they didn't have a BA. They were a local person who was bilingual, so the city wasn't sure that they really needed to have the level of qualifications that the Love Your Block program was requiring.
What's the salary for that position?
It's around 60,000.
Should find somebody for 60,000.
Yeah, you should be able to.
That's you renting in Fall River. If you're gonna rent in Fall River and have a life, 60,000 is like just about making it too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just coming out of college and you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what you're gonna do, it's a good first job, right?
Yeah, good experience.
Good experience, so you're willing to take a little bit of a discount to
Yeah.
get something on your resume, good for grad school or for wherever you're going, so.
Doesn't sound like the qualifications are high besides the BA and just being bilingual. It shouldn't be hard to find that person, I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
It's a specific skill set, though.
it is.
Yeah.
You gotta be
Yeah.
able to organize, you gotta be able to put together a plan, you gotta be able to follow through, so. It's not that's not an easy thing to do.
No, it isn't.
And you gotta introduce yourself to everybody that's
You're
there.
gonna be a people person.
You gotta gain
Yeah.
their trust. There's a whole host of things you gotta do there. So you gotta have the social skills, the academic skills, the organizational skills, that are necessary. And the reporting skills, I'm sure there's
Right, they have
reports.
to do reporting.
Right, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's reports, right?
Yeah, the job description's pretty
Yeah.
comprehensive. I can send you all the job description. You might know somebody who could be interested.
It's a full-time position, right?
Yes.
No benefits or no benefits?
I think there are benefits.
Okay.
I think the city is providing
Okay,
benefits,
'cause that's
but,
another important part, especially
Yeah,
if
it
you're
is.
coming out of school.
yep.
Get off your parents' plan and go.
After 23, then we went to 26.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that's the Flint neighborhood.
Something you
Yeah.
said before, you were talking about the neighborhood plan and the city plan. If you take them out, it's gonna make less of the work that has to be done. Is that what you're thinking? I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Why it would be taken out? Is it gonna hurt us in another way? Is what
No.
I'm asking. Okay.
No, so the thing is
Yeah.
that MIPA is a regulatory agency for environmental concerns.
Yeah.
So when they look at an urban renewal plan in an environmental justice community, and this is a whole new level of requirement that came from legislation that was looking at environmental justice communities, and just about all of Fall River is an environmental justice area. And so they took the requirement MIPA always had to just review an urban renewal plan to this much higher level. So MIPA is looking at, for example, for Stafford Square, and we need to clarify this, but I think that the engineer is designing Stafford Square for climate change levels in 2050. And NEPA says they should be in 2070. Now, we're not doing Stafford Square. That's a city project. And we don't think NEPA really, the Water and Sewer Department doesn't think that they would have even been needing to go to NEPA for their project. So all of a sudden, our plan is implying a different level of requirement than the city may be needing to do. And it's a misunderstanding for NEPA to say, well, we're now going to suggest what the city does with their project. So we think we never wanted to include Stafford Square and how it was being done in our urban renewal plan. But the MEPA requirements are that you have a project that you run through this software program that engineers use that look at all these criteria for how it meets climate change and how it all these criteria that are kind of set by energy efficiency. And so they were looking at, it's an area that floods, and that's why they're working on it. And we put it in our plan because, it's in our plans because lots of residents say, get rid of the flooding in Stafford Square, and it makes total sense, and the city is doing it. But we never, when we put it in our plan, never expected MEPA to then, require all this significant information. And so the question is, should we have projects that are really city projects in our plan that MEPA is now expecting all kinds of information about? And so we could simplify our plan. And it doesn't mean that the city won't do these things and that we won't do things, but it could mean that MEPA wouldn't have to review this level of complexity and then require us to take it to another level and explain lots of things.
Because the city could do those projects with or without it, ever.
Right.
Yeah.
They could do
Yeah.
that project tomorrow.
And they are doing them. So, that's what we're exploring, and the pros and cons of doing that. I mean, I would rather just leave them all in there, but we'll see how we deal with that.
Okay, perfect.
You want to talk about the Wall Street corridor?
Yeah. So, Stantec, our consulting firm, is finishing our master plan. We have a few more pieces to review, and they have to finalize and give us the final plan in the format that is part of their contract. And so we're working along on that. Once we get a final plan, we assume that we'll get our advisory groups together to look at the plan and have a final advisory group meeting. And that's kind of where we are. You know that the letter has gone into the governor, and we're working on the issues of land disposition.
How long does she have to answer that letter? Does she have to answer that letter or no?
No,
No.
it's not a statutory issue.
No.
Anything else on that? No? Okay, if there's no further matters for the open session, the chair makes a finding that an open session will have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The purpose of the executive session is to approve the executive session minutes from October 23, 24, discuss strategy with respect to potential real estate transactions for properties located at Assessor Map 22, Lot 9 on Duval Street at the corner of Turner Street and 2501 South Main Street, and at the 45 Ann and Street property. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session, and we will return to open session.
Motion to go into executive session, and we will be returning to open session.
Second,
Ann King?
John Erickson, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Thank you.
I'm the motion guy.
Okay, we're good, right?
Yes.
We're good? Okay, great. All right, welcome back. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment and authorize the chair to execute the amendment to the lease for 2501 South Main Street.
Okay, motion to approve the amendment and to authorize the chair to execute the amendment to lease for 2501 South Main Street.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ann King, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Thank you. I'll also entertain a motion to have the chair execute the quitclaim deed for 2501 South Main Street.
Motion to have the chair execute the quitclaim deed for 2501 South Main Street.
Second,
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ann King, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Thank you. 0 Duval Street. I'll entertain a motion to authorize the chair to execute the deed and all associated closing documents for the sale of for the sale of the City of Fall River Assessor Map 022-0009, corner of Duval and Turner Street, Fall River, Mass. to 577-609 Duval Street LLC in accordance with the terms and conditions of a land disposition agreement between the parties dated October 8th, 2024.
Since he said, I can just say so moved, right?
moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ann King, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Took the job away.
Thank you. If there's no other further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. John Erickson, yes.
Ann King, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Thanks, everybody.